Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Saturday of the sixth week of Easter. And I guess you heard with the president making the announcement that churches are essential, and they really are. Priests, pastors, ministers, all of us agree with that statement and have always agreed with that statement. It's that struggle with the law that we try to abide with the law because to protect the common good. And that's what we did here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Archbishop Nelson Perez wanted to make sure that everyone is safe. And he thought, I think very well, to make sure that we obey this law that the governor had established. And to make sure, because there's big crowds and churches are places where we gather, we hug, we kiss, we hold hands, we're close to one another, and it could make an environment that would just breed that virus. So it was a time where we had to just refrain from attending public mass. That's why public mass was put on hold, but we had mass virtual for people. But the Archdiocese made a very clear statement, and I want to reiterate that statement, that the church is open. The church is open, and people come into church, and that's wonderful, from a specific time. As long as they're separated, they have masks, and they sit and pray, and we even then allow the Blessed Sacrament to be placed on the altar at a certain time during this pandemic. And so it is now from 12 to 3. Confessions are heard on Saturdays in the chapel. There's enough distance, and I'm going to continue that as well during the yellow phase, because our reconciliation room is too tiny, and you need space. There's no ventilation in our reconciliation room either. So that's why I'm not offering face-to-face. I mean, we're in a big room in the chapel, and if someone needs to ask me a question, absolutely. But the reconciliation room is, I could barely fit in the reconciliation room. It's like a telephone booth. So, and during this renovation of our church, as the months go on, we're going to be doing some renovation work in the reconciliation room. Well, on June 5th is a Friday, and then June 6th and 7th is the weekend. So we'll be into a yellow phase. We're leaving the red phase. We're going into the yellow phase, which they'll tell us specifically how many people. I don't think it's going to be a problem on Friday morning mass at 9 o'clock, June 5th, because we average about 40 people. So I'm going to make sure that everyone is in every other pew, because we're not going to be in every pew. We're going to be in every other pew. So we'll tape the pew that I asked you not to be in. And then we just spread out. And if you're in a pew with somebody else, make sure you're 6 feet apart, okay? And mask, okay? So everything will be wiped down before you come, and everything will be wiped down after you leave. But for the weekday mass, I don't think it's a problem. I'll go more specifically into the weekend masses with you, because there will be no hymnals or breaking bread hymnal missalettes in the pew. So the breaking bread hymnal and the canticle, that green hardbound, they all have been taken out, because there will be no music on the weekend, because we can't have anybody singing through a mask. It just doesn't work. And they're too close to one another. And they have to have a mask, because they cannot breathe out, or even sometimes saliva would come out. Not purposely, of course, but I mean, it just happens. And we can't have that. That would put people into a situation that I don't want them to fear somebody that close to them. Life is going to be a little bit different. So I just want everyone to be patient. So when we do go back on the 6th and the 7th, it's not going to be 5 masses. But I don't want to give you all this information today. There'll be some masses that are public, but it's going to be curtailed. Not every pew, every other pew. No missalettes, no hymnals, no music, no sign of peace. The priest and the deacon will leave via the sacristy after Mass. They will not go down the center aisle and greet people after Mass. They will not do that. They will go back into the sacristy. It will not put a temptation to people's pathway of like wanting to say hello to Father or shake his hand or say something or all that kind of situation. That's why right now it's yellow. And you know what a yellow light is. It's a caution light. A red light means no. So we're ending that, midnight on the 4th of June. We're ending the red light. You'll see the red light change to a yellow one on June 5th at 12:01 a.m., right? And that yellow light means caution, which means that it's going to be different. It's not going to be a green light. It's not going to be like life was before. So things will be. Now, you may say, Father, I don't want to come even when it's a yellow light. You don't have to come to Mass. You don't have to. If you feel in any way nervous or afraid, or if you're immunocompromised, an elderly person, you have some issues yourself, you're a diabetic, you have medical issues, you're running a low-grade fever, you have a cold, please do not come to Mass. The obligation, of course, is still lifted. There is no penalty of mortal sin for those who miss Mass, even in the yellow phase. I want to be very clear about that. There is no penalty of committing a mortal sin in the yellow phase. The church would never, ever place that kind of situation among its people. But if you are going to come to Mass during the yellow phase, which begins Friday, June 5th with daily Mass, please know that life is a little bit different for the church, okay? And I just ask you to just be mindful of that. Be mindful of being with crowds and talking in church. Maybe it's best to take your conversation outside into an open space where there's a distance between all of you. Because you know what's going to happen if you do that, and I know you want to be church, and for you guys here at St. Mary's, which I love, your understanding of church is community, and you want to be with one another and talk with one another, and hug one another and kiss one another, and be close to one another. You can't in the yellow phase, all right? So when Mass is over, I'm going to ask you to walk outside. We have 23 acres. Go enjoy yourself. But wherever you go on our 23 acres, make sure you're, distant. Don't be on top of one another. Make sure you have a Mass so you respect people. That's a respect that you have for people, that you're not breathing on them heavily. And I say this because you don't do it purposely. No, it's just that it just happens. We have 7 holes in our head that we have to be careful because things go in and out. That's why they say don't touch your face, because you have 7 openings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See? 7 openings. So you have to be very careful when you talk to one another. So I'll give you more information because I have to meet with my staff, and I have to also wait for information from His Excellency Archbishop Nelson Perez and Father Dennis Gill, who is the director of the Office of Divine Worship. It's those priests. Archbishop and Father Gill, who will then tell me the directives for the Archdiocese, because we're part of an Archdiocese. We're not an entity unto ourselves. We belong to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. So I'm waiting for their guidelines as well, and I'm talking to our staff as well. And then we'll put something together and I will communicate that to you. But I wanted to talk to you today about going into the yellow phase on June the 5th. So we're still in the red phase, everybody. We're still in the red phase until 12:01 a.m. And you know that red phase is stop. We can't do what we normally do. The yellow phase, then we'll talk about that and how is that played out. You know, like I just said to you about confession. Like I'm not going to have confession in the room, in the little tiny telephone booth back there. I'm a big guy. I need space myself, and people need space, and I need ventilation. There's no windows in the reconciliation room. So it's going to be in there during the whole time of the yellow phase. And masses on the weekend, no music. We could certainly pray and certainly, of course, be with one another, but it'll be changed. We'll use every other pew, okay? I probably will have the doors open so you don't have to touch the handles. And you'll come in. And I have to work on all that. I don't want to tell you too much information. You know why? Because then you're going to say, but Father, you told us on that day. See? That's why, you know, Italians have to, because I talk to you too much. I like to give you a fireside chat of what I'm thinking. So what I'm saying to you right now, we're talking about. It's not gospel. Not yet. Let me just talk to everybody and we'll see how that is played out, okay? And we'll see when we go back how all of this is going to work into the yellow phase. But I don't want you to feel that you need to go back to Mass if you're not ready to go back to Mass during the yellow phase, right? I don't want you to feel bad that you chose not to come to Mass because of your particular situation. But you know what? Some people are ready to go back to Mass and they want to go back to Mass. And that's okay, as long as they're conscious of the people around them, respectful. To be respectful of your surroundings, not to be close 6 feet away from the next person unless they're a family member, okay? And just to be conscious of that. No hymnals, no sign of peace. And when you gather outside after Mass, if you're going to stay around outside, just go in an area where you could talk to one another, but being separated by socially distancing yourself, okay? That's all I have for you for today, and I just wanted to communicate that with you today. Tomorrow we'll talk to you a little bit more, and I'll talk to you about a specific item or a topic, or if you have any questions you may want to ask me, you could always email them in or put them in the comment box there, okay? God bless you, everyone. Be safe.